to celebrate the theme of World Cancer Day, United by Unique. I am Dr. Jyoti Bajpai Dikshit, working as a genetic counselor at Karkinos Healthcare. Today, we have Dr. Vinod Scaria with us to make us understand why each cancer patient is unique and yet all cancer patients are united in the battle against cancer. Dr. Vinod is Chief Data Officer at Karkinos Healthcare. Dr. Vinod Scaria is a clinician turned computational biologist. Dr. Vinod is a prominent scientist and a leader in the field of genomics research with a strong focus on understanding the genetic basis of human health, wellness, and diseases. He has been part of Indian, Sri Lankan, and Malaysian genome projects and is a member of Hugo Pan Asian Population Genomics Initiative Task Force. During the COVID-19 pandemic, his lab led the way in studying the genetics of SARS-CoV-2 virus in India. Thank you, Dr. Vinod, for giving us your time to talk to us and let the people know about the relation between cancer and DNA, or we can say cancer and genes.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be in here.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod. Our first question is cancer a genetic disease? Can you help demystify the genetic and hereditary aspects of cancer for our listeners?
All cancers are genetic by nature. That necessarily means that all cancer comes out of genetic mutations in individual cells, and these mutations could be based on an environmental insult. It could be based on the errors that could be accumulated during the cell division, or in some cases, these mutations could be inherited from your parents, and therefore they could be hereditary in nature. Now, having said that, only a small proportion of cancers, to be exact, 1 in 10 on an average across cancer types, do have an inherited genetic mutation. That means that this was inherited from your parents, and you also have a probability to transmit it down into your offsprings.
Now, the next question arises is the cancer, is it always acquired hereditarily? Many people have this confusion that the cancer is acquired hereditarily. To bust the myths of hereditary diseases and the threat perception among the general populations, can you guide us on that?
Yeah, so different cancers have different predisposition by genetics. That means that there are different cancers which are inherited at different proportions in the population. Now, to give examples, for example, if you take breast and ovarian cancer, which are one of the most commonest cancers in females, is largely caused by inherited genetic mutations in approximately 1 in 10 individuals in breast cancer and approximately 1 in 5 individuals in ovarian cancer. Now, and therefore, what you need to keep in mind is that a woman with an ovarian cancer would have a much larger probability, 1 in 5, compared to somebody with breast cancer, say 1 in 10, to have inherited the mutations from their parents. And in a similar way, once you have inherited the mutations from your parents, these are autosomal dominant conditions. That means that you need only one copy to be abnormal compared to a normal copy out there. You also have the chance to inherit or pass it on to your progenies by around 50% of the times. Now, this is very different for different cancers. The highest, of course, being for ovarian cancer, which is 1 in 5, but it could be as low as 6%, for example, if you look at cervical cancers and many other cancers. So it's not always to be kept in mind that all cancers are inherited. Only almost on an average 1 in 10 cancers are inherited.
How to create this awareness among the people to know about whether the cancers are hereditary or not? Where should they go? What should they do for that?
Yes, typically the decision on whether you should test for a hereditary cancer or not is taken by a clinician after examining your family history, or by a genetic counselor who has gone through the family history of cancer. Now, one thing that you need to keep in mind is that just a family history of cancer does not necessarily mean that it is an inherited cancer. People could have cancer in the family because of common exposures, but nevertheless, only a subset of them are likely to be of genetic in nature or inherited in nature.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod, for helping us in understanding that. It's actually going to be very useful information for all of us. Another question which we have, which partly you have covered, but we would also like to know your thought process on that. What actionable advice would you give to our listeners to protect themselves and ensure better health for future generations?
Now, some cancers do have a genetic testing guideline currently available, depending upon the age of onset of cancer, depending upon the family history, and in some cases, just by being part of a population. Like, for example, if you're an Ashkenazi Jew, you would already be eligible for genetic testing. Now, the idea of genetic testing is not just to know that you have a predisposition for cancer, but at least in a number of cancers today, there are now guidelines on how to approach and how to take corrective measures, either for early detection or for prevention of cancer. And I think this is something that you need to keep in mind, because genetic testing is not just about the knowledge, it also opens up the possibility that you could access early diagnosis, consequently better outcomes, and of course, at least in some cancers, modalities to prevent cancer from occurring.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod. It is really enlightening, and it's good for our listener to understand that. And it's like this kind of conversations, if we keep continuing, it will be helping people to understand why we are genetically different when there is a cancer patient, but still united in fighting against the battle. Battle against the cancer. Thank you, Dr. Vinod. Thank you very much.